Look at that, so steady.
I think you can do crab with it. Crab landing.
30 seconds.
I'm trying to like...
Yeah, one wheel. Nice. That's a fun part.
I mean, look at the vertical.
I know, this is crazy, man. Seriously.
Unlimited.
Still going.
It's still going.
Oh my god.
Hey, it's Vas here from Aussie RC Airspace and welcome to my review of the Grand Tundra V2 from Avios. This is a brand new plane released by Hobby King, and I gotta say, this one took me by surprise a little bit and it's very quickly climbed to the top of my charts. As always, we're going to start things off with the specs. Now, the Grand Tundra V2 comes in with the wingspan of 1700 millimeters, a total length of 1260 millimeters. Now, on my spec sheet, I've got 2.8 kilograms as a total weight, but it does not say if it's with or without batteries. I weighed the plane as it is without a battery, and it came in just shy of 2.5 kilos. So I would presume that at 2.8 to maybe 3 or even over 3 kilos, you would be looking with the battery included. That is total flying weight. Moving on to the ESC, we've got an 80 amp Aerostar G2 with a reverse option on the thrust. We also have a new motor from Tundra, which is the SK3 5055 500 kV, and I can assure you this motor has plenty of power. Now, the included propeller is for 6S use, and it is a 15x8. However, you can get an optional 16x8 to run on 4S if that is something that you intend to do. I'm not sure how the plane would handle 4S with the stock prop. I presume it would probably still fly, but it just might be a bit underpowered. So maybe go with the 16x8 if you are intending to run on 4S. Now, for servos, we have two 9-gram servos and four 17-gram metal geared servos. And finally, for battery recommendations, on 6S, it is recommended a 3000 to 5500 milliamp, and on 4S, a 4000 to 6000 milliamp. However, I will say the battery tray is quite generous, so you can potentially try bigger batteries if you have something like that, or maybe run a couple of smaller ones in parallel to make up the weight. But yeah, there's a bit of room in there for you to experiment. So moving on to the first flight of this review, I'm going to be showing you my maiden flight of the Grand Tundra V2, and you'll kind of see how my perception of this plane kind of changes as I keep flying it and start to really realize how awesome this plane is. So I'll leave you with the flight footage, enjoy it, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more in depth about the Grand Tundra V2.
Okay, maiden flight on the Tundra V2. Grand Tundra V2 rather. Not much wind at the moment. Timer's on, throttle's on. Let's see how we do. 4000 Tundra heavy duty in there. Beautiful. Wow, doesn't need a click of trim? Really? That's awesome. Oh, it needs a little bit of down. Nice. Nice. Wow, this thing flies awesome.
4 minutes.
Knife edge. Let's see how it comes into land with that squishy suspension. This thing flies amazing. I know, it's not like should have expected anything less. Definitely feels a bit different from the small one. Let's see what that rolls like at low rate. Oh, it's so nice. I nailed the rates. I basically copied them from the Tundra, the smaller one. Rates and Expo are bang on. Oh. That suspension's nuts. It works so good. I gotta program my flaps properly. Look at that. I gotta be careful because it's I'm gonna prop strike and break that prop. That's so good. So yeah, medium. Oh yeah, see, it needs down elevator bad. Heaps of power. Look at it climb. Look at that. That's, man, it just keeps going. That's crazy. All right, let's go high rate. Let's see what it does. Okay. Let's snap it. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's quite good on high rate too. Quite a snappy model. Let's go inverted. Ah, yeah. Same as the small one.
2 minutes.
Yeah, this is grunty. I love it. So good. I can see those LEDs as well coming through. So much power out of that 6S. Really, really nice. Let's bring it back to low rate. And we'll see if we can do a nice smooth landing here. Idle power. Oh, that was fantastic. That was fantastic.
High rate.
Colours are nice and bright too.
So good. We finished a little early, but because I had 5 minutes on the clock, but I want to see what that battery's at. And for a maiden, that's pretty good. Here we go. Done.
Alright, so now I get to talk to you about the assembly for the Grand Tundra V2. Now, first things first, I'm going to tell you straight up that you're not going to be putting this thing together in like 20 minutes. This is going to take a little bit of time. There is a tiny bit of gluing that's involved, and you can either do that at the start or at the end. For the most part, things either clip into place or just screw into place. So that's a good thing, but there's a lot that you need to do. So first, I started with the tail section. I installed my horizontal stab, and then I put my rudder. Now the rudder actually clips into place, much like the caboose that was recently released. And then there's a little screw on the bottom of the rudder to hold it in place. The horizontal stab has one spar that goes across it, and then you'll be able to see just there, there's a couple of struts, one on either side, that you need to screw into place. Very straightforward. That shouldn't take you too long at all. Where it got a little bit fiddly for me was the tail wheel assembly. The tail wheel plate screws onto the base of the fuselage, and then there's like two springs that hook up, and it's like a pull system, right? Now on one side of the spring it's just a basic loop. On the other side of the spring it's got like a little funny S-bend, and because I got the plane in pre-release and the only thing that came in the box was the quick start guide that you see with most Hobby King planes nowadays, there was no instruction manual. And even if I got this after release, well, the instruction manuals are online anyway, but the plane's not online yet. So I had to look up the old Tundra, Grand Tundra V1, to see if I could find instructions on how to put the springs in. Now, the instructions do say, hey, you need to put these springs in here, but they don't tell you how. And so I fiddled around with it a little bit, and I think I got it right. As I said, you know, I've flown the plane plenty of times. I've taxied around on grass, done heaps of touch and goes and so forth. Those springs haven't come off, nothing bad's happened. I'll show you some close-ups of it and how I've done it, and maybe you guys can replicate it if you're doing yours. But that's essentially how I've done mine, and it seems to be working fine. Now, after that, you probably want to start doing your push rod, especially in the tail and rudder. So you want to get yourself a receiver, power up the plane, you know, bind the receiver, do whatever it is you want to do, and start putting installing your push rods. I did the same thing on the wings. So once I was done with the rudder and the elevator, I installed my wings, and then I started putting the push rods for the flaps and ailerons, making sure everything's going in the right direction, and that I've got everything mechanically adjusted as best as I can, so I do minimal trimming when the plane actually flies. Whilst we're on the subject of the main wings, a couple of things to note. The wings are really tough to put into place. Like when you try to actually plug them into the plane, it can be very tricky. That one there was hard, but it went in okay. This wing, however, was incredibly stubborn, and I was getting actually quite frustrated with it. And I will tell you now from experience, what you want to do is take a deep breath, maybe go and pat your dog, or go for a walk, or make yourself a cup of coffee, whatever it is you want to do, and then come back to it and slowly jiggle the wing into place, because if you start to force it and really get frustrated and everything, you could end up creasing the foam, which I did slightly at the tip of the wing because I was grabbing the end of the wing and trying to push it in, and I ended up creasing the foam slightly. So just take your time with it. It will go in. You just need to be patient and careful. Once you've assembled it and pulled it apart and flown it and all the rest of it, it starts to loosen up. So I've taken the wings off, on and off now about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times. And it's actually a lot easier now. Even putting the plane back together just for the review here, the wings went in pretty easy. So it just takes a few times, and then once you fly it, everything kind of stresses and stretches and bends and flexes, and they start to embed themselves into those grooves a little bit better. The wings attach with 2 screws on top on each wing. They are machined screws, so just be careful putting them on. Make sure you don't, strip the thread. Yeah, it's better than having self-tapping screws, because they would have worn out pretty quickly, and especially given that this is a fairly big plane. Not a lot of people are going to have cars where you can keep this in one piece. I have a Mazda 6 station wagon, and I still have to take the wings off because this thing's just not going to fit in that car, unfortunately. From there, you're going to do the landing gear. So the landing gear does need to be assembled. The instructions that they had on the V1 were pretty basic as well, much like the tail wheel, but it's a lot easier to follow because it's just a couple of pieces that need to go together. So they give you all the hardware and everything to put all that together. You then put the wheels on as well. There's an elastic that you need to put in here for the suspension, so this will actually flex like so. If you find that it's really easy to flex the suspension, you probably haven't gone around here enough times with the elastic, and you'll find out the hard way when you're flying it and trying to do touch and goes, and then the landing gear just very easily collapses on itself if you come down just a smidge too hard. I found that out the hard way as well. Thankfully I didn't break a prop or anything, but I quickly adjusted this to be a little bit firmer. Now, For me, it was more like just doing the one wheel touch and goes, where you put a little bit too much pressure on the one wheel and then the one wheel collapsed. But on regular touch and goes, I really didn't have too many issues with it as it was. But again, just something to keep in mind. You don't have to make it super tight, but don't go too loose on it either. As I said, after that, you're going to be putting your wheels on and you're going to be pretty much done. The rest of it is just going to be wiring and tidying up and all the internal bit, which can take a little bit of time. Now, I will tell you this quick story as well, just in regards to the LEDs on this plane. One of the things that I personally didn't like is that this came with this little guy here that was connected to these two main lights on the wings. So you have these two main lights on the front, you got your nav lights on the wing tips, there's a strobe light underneath the belly of the plane, and then there's another red light on the tail of the plane that's facing forward. So it's on a vertical stabilizer. Now, for some reason, these lights here on the main wing, which are white, were blinking, alternately blinking. Is that the right terminology? So I didn't like that. I figured, well, these are supposed to be landing lights, aren't they supposed to be permanently on? So I played around with plugging different lights in here. At one point I had the tail light blinking, which I didn't particularly like. I was trying to get the nav lights on the wingtips to blink, but I couldn't get them to blink. They were constantly on. So I just decided to take this out. Now I was going to put just a couple of wire connectors in here and connect up all the lights, but it all just got too messy and too many wires. And so I had a spare 10 channel receiver and I hooked up my 10 channel receiver. Now I'm actually using 9 out of the 10 channels, which includes the reverse thrust. And I've got all my LEDs plugged in. The belly is still strobing, that's normal. The tail is permanently on. These guys are permanently on, as well as are the wing tips as well. And I like it like that. Now, of course, you can set it up however you like. If you think that these were supposed to be blinking, have at it, let them blink. But I wanted them permanently on, that's just me. It doesn't come with a nose light, and I may look at options for that in the future. I've got a couple of ideas to make that work, so we'll see. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't, but I might do something in the front there at some stage. All right, so that pretty much covers everything as far as the assembly process. Now, a couple of things to note as well. You can glue these little vortex things, I think they're called vortex generators or whatever, that go on top of the wing. They got slots in here. I haven't done mine purely because when I was assembling the plane, it was literally the night before the Maiden and it was getting late and I just didn't have time. And since then, I just keep forgetting to do it, but it's on my to-do list. I will put these on the wings when I get around to it. You will also get a piece of foam, which is this little guy here. I think this goes on the belly of the plane and then you can hook up like a bomb drop or something. So this is designed to just flatten. You can see it's got a little bit of a curve there. So that goes on the belly and then it gives you a flat surface for you to put that gizmo to do like lolly drops and things like that. And then we've got also a couple of spares here. There's a spare wing nut, there's a sleeve in there, I think a couple of spare screws and this little guy here for the actual push rods. And the last thing, you actually get an FPV canopy for this guy, which I think is a really cool inclusion with the Grand Tundra. Now, they don't give you plywood or anything on this, so if you're going to be doing anything, just keep that in mind. Maybe get yourself some plywood just to reinforce this and not wreck the frame if you're going to be screwing things down or whatever, which is something that I might do. I actually do have an FPV setup that I haven't used in years, and yeah, I think I might actually use it on this plane. Now, before I forget, there is one more thing I want to just mention very quickly. When putting these wing struts on, these wing struts are actually attached with some body pins, so it's really easy to put them on and take them off. However, when I first put them on, there's pins sticking out of the wing and obviously from the belly of the plane for these to actually go on, and then you put your body pin across. The problem I had with this was that the pin is kind of like, it's almost like tapered, so it's thinner at the top and thicker at the bottom. And when I was trying to put these on, I just couldn't push them down far enough to expose the hole for the body pin to go through. And what I ended up doing was actually just chamfering the hole or making it slightly wider on a couple of these, just so, I think it's this one here, yeah, just so that I could actually put this into place and get my body pins to go through. So if you find that you're trying to put these on and you just can't can't get the body pin to go through, it could be that they're just not going in far enough to expose the hole for the pin to actually poke through. And that pretty much wraps up the assembly process of the Grand Tundra V2. A couple of little tricky bits here and there, but nothing that can't be overcome with just a little bit of patience and a bit of time, and yeah, maybe just a couple of little mods here or there. Now for CG, the manual calls for 75 to 80 mil from the leading edge of the wing. I pretty much followed the CG by the book, and the plane seems to fly fine as it is. I didn't really do any changes. The battery tray, as I said, is quite generous, and I'll show it to you here. It does have this really cool feature where you have a ruler imprinted on the actual battery tray, and you can actually mark where your batteries go and so forth. So feel free to experiment a little bit depending on your flying style and how you want the plane to perform. But I found that the book CG actually works quite well. Now for setup, I'm going to do it a little bit differently this time. I'm not going to have the radio up on screen and show you all my settings and everything. Instead, I'm actually going to show it all up on screen, and I'm going to put it in the video description as well for those of you who might find that useful. You can always come back to it later. Essentially what I did for the setup of this plane is I copied the model from my standard Tundra and just applied everything on here. So my rates and everything are pretty much the same as my standard Tundra. The only thing I found that changed quite significantly was my flap to elevator mix. So when using the standard mix from the original Tundra, when I applied it here, I needed more down elevator. So, and that could be a combination of things, obviously how much throw you're getting because the control surfaces are bigger. It just didn't translate well. So I will have that in the specs as well, in the setup, but bear in mind that I am using an FrSky X20RS. If you're using different radios, those percentages may not be exactly the same for you. So you may need to do your own adjustments, maybe create flight modes, however you want to do it for your flap and elevator mix. Other than that, my rates are pretty much the same as the standard, the standard size Tundra, and I love it as it is. I tend to fly it mostly on mid to high rates, to be honest with you. It's only when I really want to just keep things nice and smooth. If I want to fly a bit slow, I may go down to my low rates, but that's just the way I like to fly this plane. Ultimately, you guys set it up however you want. So this is the part where I get to tell you my thoughts on the Grand Tundra V2. And I gotta say, this plane definitely took me by surprise. I mean, as I said at the start of the video, there was just, I thought that this was just gonna be another Tundra, another bush plane, but it has some things that really set it apart from the stock regular size Tundra. And I don't know, for me personally, I think this one has the edge, and it's only really due to a couple of things, and some of those things, or even both of them, may not even apply to everybody. It could be something that's just more personal to me, but I'm not trying to belittle the little Tundra, right? Because I love that plane and I thoroughly enjoy flying it, but I think this one just has the edge just that tiny little bit more. So the first thing I really enjoyed about this Tundra is the fact that it's got 6S power. The power to weight ratio on this is just amazing. I mean, this plane has unlimited vertical. And now I'm pretty sure that the little one has it as well, but this one just has this extra grunt, and it's got the sound, and it's got the presence. And because it's bigger, well, you can take it higher and still see it. So there is that. I mean, that's one of the things that I really enjoy. The power that this plane has got on 6L is just amazing. Now, of course, if you don't have a lot of 6L batteries, this can present a bit of a problem for you. You may need to get an additional prop to run it on 4L if that's what you want to do, or that's what you can afford to do. So I totally get it. You may even gravitate more towards the 4S one, the standard size one. But if you can, or you want something that little bit bigger, that has just a little bit more to give, I think the Grand Tundra V2 is that plane, which is essentially the same as the little one, just has more. There's more to it. The second thing I really like about this is the air-filled tires that this comes with. These tires are amazing. The stock Tundra has very hard foam tires. I really wish that Hobby King would do something about that. I think they did it on the V2, but then people said that they were too heavy or they created too much drag or something, so they switched back to the hard tires. Hard tires that the V1 originally had. I mean, sure, but I feel like it's achievable to get better foam on those tires, even if they're not air-filled. Maybe, you know, just better foam, just so that it has a little bit of cushioning, because the suspension, or rather the landing gear on the standard Tundra, is very stiff. There's little to no give on that suspension. So the tires are, you know, they take a lot of abuse, and so there's the suspension in fact. This one, however, you have these elastics here, you got the air-filled tires, and everything just works a little bit smoother. Even the tail wheel has a little bit of a spring to it. It's got a bit of suspension, and it just, you know, gliding over rough terrain, over grass or what have you, you know, absorbing the odd rough landing, it just makes it that much better and that much more enjoyable. You have that much more confidence in the plane. So those are the two things that really stood out to me on this aircraft. I also like the LED lights that they've got going on here, you know, because it is a bigger plane. You got bigger lights, they're a bit brighter. It just works well for me. So I like that as well. But then it comes to the aerobatic prowess that this plane has. And again, I am not taking anything away from the little Tundra. I think the standard size Tundra is perfectly fine. It's a very capable plane and I love it. But again, this plane just elevates it just that tiny little bit more. And it's just a combination of all these different aspects, the way it's designed, the power system, the suspension. And yeah, I like I said, I was kind of thinking that this was going to be, you know, the Grand Tundra is going to be more docile, or it's going to be a bit slower, it's going to be a bit sluggish, and it's just going to be, you know, a bush plane that maybe it's a stall plane, sure, but it's not going to really do anything extra. And I was very wrong. And I'm happy to be wrong about this one. You know, like it's one of those things where I'm glad I was wrong because I thoroughly enjoy this plane, and it's like it's really up the top of my list, to be honest with you. Out of all the planes that Hobby King have released, this one is definitely up there. You know, as far as an all-rounder capable plane, right? I mean, obviously it's not going to beat the MFX in speed or the Rare Bear. But it's definitely going to give you, you know, a variety of different applications and give you a very wide flight envelope with this. While some planes tend to be more scale, like the Catalina, for example, is a very scaled plane. This one it just completely flips the script on the Catalina, right? So, you know, you've got planes like the Extra NG, right? Very aerobatic, 3D capable aircraft designed for a specific purpose, but this has flaps and it can do other things. You can put floats on it and take it to a lake, for example. You can fly this on very rough terrain, you know, off snow, off the rocks. You don't have to have a perfectly manicured runway to fly this plane, while the Extra can't do that. So there's this, I think, kind of plugs a lot of holes for a lot of people, depending on the type of plane that you actually want or enjoy flying. But if you want a good all-rounder that's going to give you so much scope and such a wide flight envelope, the Grand Tundra V2 has really blown me away. I'm really impressed with this. Could it be better? Sure, right? I think that the color scheme, for example, Hobby King seems to be obsessed with green at the moment. A lot of the planes that they've released are green, and I'm not saying that it's an ugly color. I actually enjoy green. A lot of my cars are green, but you know, I would have loved to have seen not only just this green color, but also the red that they've got on the standard Tundra, because that would have been a nice little matching couple that I would have had, you know, had they given me the option to get a red one. The wings, for example, they need to be screwed in. I don't know why Avios have done this on the Grand Tundra. You know, they have already a screwless quick release wing on the caboose. Why didn't they do that here, right? It would have been so much easier to do that here. And even the Catalina has quick release wings, although I don't like the way that those ones are done in particular. I prefer the caboose system. So I would have liked to have seen that on here as well. You know, more detailed or better detailed instructions for some of the fiddly bits, just to give us a little bit of a better guide on how certain things go together. That would be one of the things that I would really like to see. Aside from that, the only other thing I will mention here is, as I showed you earlier, the battery tray is removable. This guy slots into place. There's obviously a plywood base that this slots into, and you got these little feet here that go into the slots, and then you push forward. This little clip here actually clips it into place, which is actually a really cool system, right? So it locks everything into place. The battery is not going anywhere. You got a couple of straps. I've put the Velcro on here so my batteries don't slide around. And this is actually really well secured. The only thing that, it's just little things, right? So when you're putting this back in, there is no guide as to where this is supposed to go. So I find myself kind of jiggling this thing around and moving around until it actually slots into place, and then you can push it forward. So it would have been nice if they had, you know, just a little guide for you to actually get this lined up and get these guys lined up into the right slots, because you know, if you have the battery tray a little bit twisted, or it's a little bit too far back or too far forward or too much to the side, it's just not going to go in. So I've gotten better at it. You know, it's something that you sort of need to practice a little bit. But it's just those little things that they could definitely make improvements on. And that's pretty much my thoughts on it. I mean, for me personally, if I had to, I would 100% buy this thing again. I absolutely love it. It's a very capable aircraft, and I think all these little improvements that it's got over the standard Tundra make it worth it, in my opinion. And that's going to wrap it up for my review of the Grand Tundra V2 from Avios. Now, before I finish this off, I do want to give a shout out to Hobby King for sending this out for a review. I do appreciate them supporting the channel and giving me the opportunity to review all of these really cool planes that they've been releasing recently. It's a pleasure to do this for them, and I do appreciate them, and all the work that they're doing at the moment. Now, I will have links in the video description as well for the plane if you want to know more about it. I've also got links in there to the batteries if you want to grab a couple of those. So feel free to check out the video description, as well as all my settings for my radio if you want to go through any of those and maybe apply them to your settings. So now I'm going to leave you with the second flight of this review. This is a little bit more of a performance demo flight. You'll see that I'm a little bit more comfortable with the plane and I'm having a bit more fun with it. So hopefully you guys enjoy the flight video, and hopefully you've also enjoyed the review and got something out of it. And of course, if you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new, if you want to see more on this guy or any of the other planes that I'm currently working on, including a new one that I'm hoping to get my hands on very, very soon. So thank you all very much for watching, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.
Alrighty, second flight. Let's go. Perfect. Now we're going to test our flaps and see what that does. Got a bit of a premix in there. Oh, too much down elevator. All right, let's bring her in and let's fix that up. Oh man, this thing flies so good. I like it better than the little one. I probably shouldn't say that, but I do. I really love it. It flies so good. I love the wheels and the suspension on it and everything. Look at that. It's like a Cadillac. It's so good. Alright, throttle off. Pause our timer. Let's fix the down elevator. Edit. I have 25%. It was pointing down quite a bit, so let's go down to about 18%. And I would assume that the full flaps is probably going to be too much as well. I had 35 on that. I'm going to go down to 25. Actually, let's leave it at 27. And let's see what that does. Let's try that again. Throttle on, timer on. And away we go. And now, if we do half flap.
4 minutes.
Oh, look at that. Perfect. So half flap. Flying beautifully. Full flap. Flying beautifully as well. Needs a bit of right aileron, I think. There we go, that's a bit better. Flaps up. And we got it dialed.
Medium rate, high rate.
Hell yeah. So good. A little bit of rudder. Full flap landing. Yeah.
3 minutes.
So good. So good. Well, I've got it on high rates. That's right. So good. Oh, I love it. I don't know why I never got the original big one. I guess maybe because I had the little one. I figured that was similar. But I gotta say, this feels different. This feels different. Full flap. I gotta get my call outs. I haven't got a call out on the full flap here. Look at that, how it... Come on, get out of here. This thing's awesome. Oops, somebody crashed. Look at that, no gyro. Just steady as she goes. What a beautiful plane. Oh my goodness.
1 minute and 30 seconds.
Takes a little bit to get it to knife edge properly and straight. She'll do it, but she'll challenge you. Oh, the sun's just come out. Oh man, I love this thing. I love this thing. We're gonna slow down with full flaps. This thing's crazy. Let's go over the rough stuff. Let's really showcase that suspension. Does not care, this thing. Go over there, more rough stuff.
30 seconds.
Let's get through here, all the bumpy terrain.
Throttle off. Aircraft safe. Time to stop.
Awesome. What was our total flight time here? 6.5 minutes out of a 4000 to Energy HD.